Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video. Today I'm going to be sharing products I can't put down. I'm obsessed with all these. They're in my everyday makeup drawer and I just can't stop reaching for them. So I had to share them with you. Before we get started, if you're not already subscribed, I'd love to have you. The subscribe button is, nope, I think it's here. Did I get it right? It's in one of the corners. Also turn on your post notifications so you don't miss my next video. But let's hop into this look. To get started, I do have some skin prep items that I want to mention. One of them being the Heritage Store Rosewater and Glycerin spray. I mentioned this a couple videos back. I've been using this and I've been loving it. So they have different types. This one has glycerin in it. They do have just the rosewater one. You want something to help grip your makeup and add some hydration, I would suggest this one with glycerin. This is just so refreshing and soothing, and it actually makes a really good makeup primer and setting spray, and it's relatively like on the affordable side. So this is really cool. You can find this at Ulta, especially when it's hot out like it is today. It is just so refreshing on the skin, but still really lightweight because I don't really like super heavy moisturizers, which brings me to my next product. If you have oilier skin in the summer or you just want a very lightweight moisturizer, because if you're adding sunscreen as well, that can be moisturizing. So I really love this Peach and Lily Glass Skin Water Gel Moisturizer. This is so hydrating and it feels really soothing. I already have this on. I'll show you the texture though. So it is just a lightweight gel. It's just the nicest, like most refreshing moisturizer for the summer because it like doesn't make you feel sweaty. It's just the best. It's also beautiful under makeup and sunscreen. I've never had this pill with any other product. So Peach and Lily, this is just an amazing moisturizer if you're like me and your skin gets like oilier and you don't want a heavy moisturizer. And then for like my primer, I have been loving the Saie Glowy Super Gel. I repurchased this. It was a favorite before. And especially for the warmer months, to have an illuminator, this one is water-based, that just feels so lightweight and refreshing on the skin, and also the particles in it are so fine. So if you are in the sunlight, it doesn't make you look glittery, like it doesn't look like makeup, which is amazing. Sort of how I adapt my makeup for the warmer months is I like to choose things that are really for like direct sunlight type of situations, or really bright sunlight that look the most natural. Every time the warmer months come around, I gravitate towards this foundation so much. This is the Kosas Revealer Skin Improving Foundation. I love this year round, but something about it for summer, it just works so well with my skin. It is non-texture enhancing, it has really good coverage, but it still looks really light and natural, and I also love that it's SPF 25. You should always wear sunscreen underneath this as well. I will be doing a sunscreen video about all my favorites, but this is just like an added layer of protection, which is just nice. This is the shade Warm 130. I usually use the lightest shade, but I actually ran out of that. So what I've been doing is about a pump and a half of this foundation, and this is very yellow. So what I do is I take this blue e.l.f. corrector, since I have a fair olive undertone, and I do about that much corrector, and the blue and the yellow will mix together, and I create like a pretty green foundation, which I just love because it cancels out my redness and it also just matches my undertone. It looks very like bizarre when I have it on my hand, but once it's on my skin, this just is magic for redness. Definitely recommend a blue corrector if you have olive skin, because then that way, like if you're torn between getting neutral foundations are kind of hard to fix, and then same goes for like pink toned ones, but if you get a yellow tone foundation, it's really easy to mix blue in to make a green undertone. So I just like to take my sponge with this, and it just does such a great job at literally getting rid of my redness. Slightly dark, but I'm like a little bit tan right now. I have no idea how that happened. That's very rare. But it ends up working. This foundation works. I think it would work well for a lot of different skin types. If you have dry skin, just don't set it. But if you have like normal to oily skin like I do, it also just sets down beautifully, but it remains having this like natural glow, but it's not like in an oily way. It's just so beautiful. If you have tried this foundation, I would love to know your thoughts on it. It's also super buildable, so I like to go in with the rest and just focus on those red areas. I just love making this like green shade. It's so nice. I'd really recommend using something to sheer this foundation out and like work it in. It looks really beautiful if you use your hands to blend it in, or a sponge. I wouldn't recommend a brush. I just feel like it's slightly on the thicker side. Like it still feels lightweight, but it feels like it's it's not like a no foundation feeling. Like it does feel like there's something on your skin. So I recommend something to sheer it out to make it just a little bit like more natural looking. I just love the coverage this has too. It's really hard to find like a medium fuller buildable type of foundation that really works for my skin. I also wanted to mention the Exa All Smiles lip oil. This is the shade Dreamer, which has this iridescent sparkle. I've been loving this, one of my obsessions lately. The texture is like a balmy gloss, so it's not quite as thick as like a really thick lip balm, but it's not oily and like slips off your lips. So I just really like that it stays on while I'm doing my makeup, and it like preps my lips really nicely for lip product. So this is what I've been loving for foundation. Moving on, I do have some cream products that I've been enjoying. It's really interesting. I will sort of switch back and forth, but in summer I usually gravitate towards creams. I know that's usually like a winter thing because your skin is drier, but I like to gear my makeup to look the most natural in sunlight, like I mentioned. And I feel like creams, especially for bronzer or like colors that you're putting on your face, just it looks ultra natural. I do use powders if I feel like I'm gonna be like, you know, sweating a ton, but these Thrive Causemetics bronzer sticks I've been obsessed with. There's two shades I have here. I will swatch both of them. I've talked about this one before, which is the shade Mo, which is the fair neutral shade, I believe, or fair cool shade. They also have a fair golden shade called Jan, which also has a really beautiful undertone. I like how you have choices in undertone with these bronzers, but neither of them are like red. This one is definitely like a neutral reddish, and then this one has quite a golden undertone. I actually haven't tried this one yet. I've just mostly been using this one, so I want to go ahead and try this one today. But the formula of this I've been loving. And I feel like the shade's gonna look really natural. It's actually quite like olivey, and they just literally glide onto your skin. And I've been liking just taking my sponge to blend these out. And sometimes I will put powder bronzers on top of these, but it's a really nice bronzy base, or if you just want to use this alone for like a natural look. It like barely takes any effort to blend out. I love that shade. That looks super natural, not like vampire supernatural. Ooh, that might be my new favorite shade. I feel like this one's like a little bit better for contouring. They're both beautiful. Definitely loving the formula and both of these shades now. I'd probably recommend this fair neutral one if you have like cooler or neutral skin, and then the fair golden if you have fair olive skin like me or a fair yellow undertone. So another cream product I've been loving, the e.l.f. Halo Glow Contour Wand. Tried this, obsessed with it immediately. Just the shade, you can tell compared to the bronzer shades, it's a really nice like cool tone stone shade. I don't love this applicator, but again, this is so nice because it looks so extremely natural. I like to do a little bit on my nose. I also like to use my sponge for this just because all the leftover foundation and bronzer, it all helps melt everything together. This is also not very pigmented, which I think makes it another great contour product because it's not very easy to go overboard with it. That's like my summer base sculpting routine. It always looks very pretty, never does me wrong. Even if I have some dry patches or if I'm breaking out, these products are just it. You can also do another layer of this Rosewater and Glycerin spray if you wanted to. I'm pretty dewy right now though, so I'm probably gonna skip that. For concealers, I've still been really enjoying the Jouer concealer. You know it's my favorite. But I've also been using the Thrive Causemetics Buildable Blur Concealer a lot. This one's a lot thinner, which I gravitate towards more if I want just lighter weight makeup. This one is the shade Fair Warm. I also like to let this sit on my face, and as we wait, the coverage builds up a little bit. I say that as I immediately go in to blend it. I'm just like impatient when I'm filming. This is also one of those products that just melts into your skin. I really recommend this if you still like having like more medium coverage in a lightweight concealer. I feel like a lot of lightweight concealers tend to be lighter coverage, which don't work for me, and they're also very like moisturizing, so they crease a lot. But this creaseless formula, it's thin, so you get that very lightweight, thin, like no makeup feel, but it gives you good coverage and it doesn't crease, so perfect in my opinion. For my powder, I definitely am reaching for something heavy duty to set down everything, maybe absorb some face sweat. I am a face sweater, so I always set, especially my under eyes. This is the Haley's Retouch Soft Focus Setting Powder. This is amazing. It's mattifying but smoothing, and it never looks drying, and it's just perfect, especially if I want my makeup to last a long time. I even use this to set like tinted sunscreens. Taking that on a Real Techniques setting brush, I like to smooth out my creases first. So when I am setting, I do my under eye, I always do the sides of my nose, down into my smile line, and then I do my chin as well. I really like to focus in the areas and in between my brows, in the areas that I get like the most oily with the most amount of powder, and then I'll go in after with a lighter layer just so we like avoid looking too powdery. This one doesn't really have that issue. Depending how dry or oily my skin is, I will either use this same Haley's powder or a slightly glowier one, but I am hot right now and this base is very glowy, so I'm just gonna use the Haley's one. Really just locks everything in place, especially since we used those cream bronzer and contour products. I've actually been not setting my nose. I like the look of like just having a shiny nose, like just the tip of it. It kind of just gives the illusion that you have highlight on your nose or that you don't really have powder on your face. I don't know, it's kind of an interesting one. Also, I feel like sometimes if you like rub makeup off of your nose and it has powder on it, it actually looks more obvious than if it wasn't set. Another reason I've just discovered doing that. So face is sculpted and set down, and now I like to build on bringing the glowiness back. So since we already have bronzer and contour, there's really no need to do more bronzer, but I like to use this really fun product I've been enjoying. This is Iconic London. These are glowy powders and they're made to be like whatever you want them to be. So I have the shade So Cheeky, which is essentially this really gorgeous like rosy bronze. So it has like a slight warmth to it, and I've been using this, I guess, like a bronzer topper. So what I do is I take an angled brush and just take a little bit of it, and then I guess it's sort of like a bronzer. I do like above where I would put my bronzer, but not quite as high as blush. And I just really like the glow that it adds, and because it's like rosy, I think it mimics sort of like a sunburn type of effect. Like if you have fair skin, usually if you get bronzy, it's like a little bit red toned anyway. So it's pretty subtle on camera, but I just really like adding that like dimension and glow to the skin, especially since we did a lot of powder. So we have the long wear, but it also gives dimension. Also do some on like the tip of my nose. Now for my blush, I cannot get enough of this RMS blush. This is the French Rose. Mentioned this a lot since I got it. They have other shades. I love this. It's a baked formula, so it is so dimensional on your skin. Like the name is very accurate. It's so dimensional, but it doesn't look like shimmer. Again, it makes it so beautiful in natural light situations, where if you want to have glow on your face but not have it be like, oh, like that's glitter or makeup-y looking. And I like to pretty much load this stuff on. I've been doing a lot of blush like very high up, and I kind of blend it into my brow bone. Especially if you're doing a lot of blush, it makes it look really natural, because that's sort of like the sun. You know, if that were to be like a little bit of a sunburn or blush, like it just is a natural shade. I actually haven't been wearing a ton of highlight because this cheek combo, like it has enough glow on its own, but if I want to amp it up a little bit, the Haus Labs highlight, this is the Bio Radiant Gel Powder Highlight in Moonstone. This silver color, if you watched my initial try on, I was immediately obsessed with this. It's so unique. It's the most flattering highlight shade that I own. Like for fair skin, like I can't believe no one really made, like I never saw a silver highlight before I found this one. And it just goes with that RMS blush so well. And you actually only need a little bit to get a glow. And this is also a product, because it's baked, it has that very fine shimmer in it, so nothing is gonna look chunky or glittery. That's why I love all three of these like powdered cheek products. Well, if you love highlight and you were to only get like one thing from this video, I think you would love this. It's expensive, but I feel like it's so worth the money. It is so beautiful. For my brows, I actually do have a new product. Well, not new to me, but I usually use the NYX Micro Brow, but lately I've been using the Kosas Brow Pop. This is actually the shade Soft Brown. I had multiple shades of this. I've used blonde, taupe, and this shade. They honestly all work for me, which is pretty cool. Usually like barely any eyebrow shades work for me. So what I love about this is it has a triangular tip to it. It fills in my brows just so much quicker than like the NYX Micro Brow, because it is a bit thicker. It just like is so easy, especially if I'm just doing like like a quick look. So the cool thing about this brow pencil too is you can tilt it on its side to get like a sharp edge or like a more fine precision point, but then I sort of tilt it like this, and then when you hold it like vertically to your brow, it will fill in like all those middle parts, but it's also precise at the top of it. Just such a good shape for a brow pencil. Did also want to mention, as a foundation option, I've been loving the Olema Pure Satin Matte Foundation in Olive Zero. This to add coverage or on its own, this just stays so well if you're going to be super sweaty and just want to do like a powder foundation. This is beautiful. It has such a natural finish, and I feel like it gets better as you wear it, as your skin like warms up to it, and like maybe you get a little bit sweaty. It just like makes it into like an actual foundation at that point. It's just really interesting. But if you've never tried like a powder foundation, really love that one. So for my brows, this was not like a new purchase, but I realized that I had this and I basically have never played around too much with it. This is from KVD. It's their Edge of Reality eyeshadow palette. I'm not sure if they sell this anymore or if they have some different palettes, but it's this paper packaging, which is really cool. And the shades in here are gorgeous. So I've been using these neutrals a lot, but for today's video, I thought I would share the palette as something I'm loving, but then also think we might play around and do a more fun look. I'm thinking something with that like greenish gold. We'll see. So I just like to start out with this very, very light taupey shade. It's almost like skin tone shade for me, but slightly darker. This is such a good transition shade because you want it to be like a hint darker than your skin. That way you can really blend it out. And then taking this next really neutral taupe. What I really like about this palette is it has those warm tones and shimmers, but it also gives you this like pretty neutral, cool sculpting shade. So there's a lot you can do with it. So I'm just building this into my crease. I actually feel like we could warm this up a bit, so I'm going to go into this medium light neutral bronzy shade. Formulas are also beautiful. They really blend into each other, and like even the mattes, they're not completely matte, so they have some dimension to them. I feel like that always looks a little bit more like skin than just a total flat matte. Okay, that's a little bit warmer now. I'm actually taking this light peachy pink here, showing up lighter on camera. It's slightly darker in person, just a neutral peach, and I'm just going over that. I love those lighter shades because it creates such a seamless blend. Beautiful. I'm just taking that same neutral warm brown here, and I'm gonna do this smoky on my bottom lash line. I haven't done like a warmer tone look in a while, so I figured let's do it. I'm blending this out pretty widely. I want it to be like a nice bronzy smoky look. It always screams summer to me. There's actually so many beautiful shimmers in here. I don't know which one to do. There's this light champagne, which is warm toned. This warm bronze, and then there's this shade, which is like this really cool duochrome green, and then there's also this like more muted gray. I feel like that one's a little bit too cool toned, so let's see. I think I'm gonna do that green. It is just so gorgeous, but look at the reflect of these. They're stunning. So to get a little bit more wow out of this eyeshadow, I'm going to use a white base. This is also from KVD. It's the Brow Pomade in white, but it makes a really great eyeshadow base if you want the color to pop. I just take a little bit of this on my finger and put this on the first half of my eye. I'm not taking it to that outer portion where we did the darker shade. And then before that dries, using my finger for this metallic, I feel like these types of metallics work beautifully with your finger. Just gonna press that in. I love these like greenish gold shades. I feel like they're pretty universally flattering. So these eyeshadows, even without the base, I feel like have an impressive minimal amount of fallout, but with the base, like I literally had no fallout with this shadow, which is pretty impressive. I think I also want to use this like warm bronze here that we swatched on the outer portion of my eye. That would go nicely with the green. Just doing some matte white highlight on the inner corners and the brow bones from a different palette because that one doesn't have a white. And then I'm going to go into this darkest shade over here, which is a really gorgeous chocolate brown, and we're going to do a smoked out liner. So with shadow liner, to prevent a lot of fallout, always tap the excess off. But I like to start by stamping it into my lash line. That way you're also not like flicking the shadow particles. And then once that's down is when I will start to blend it out. And then I use whatever's left over to do my little wing. And it doesn't have to be perfect because it's super easy to clean up. So also taking whatever's left, very outer corner of my eye. This is really pretty. I haven't used warm tones in a long time. So I used to be like only a warm tone person, and now I've just been using tons of cool tones. I love warm tones too though. I feel like having fair olive skin, like you can really pull off both of them. I feel like these colors especially bring out my eyes, but also so do cool tones. I feel like cool tones bring out like the green in my eyes, because my eyes are blue when I'm looking straight forward, but like when I look to the side, they do have this very like light green hue. So it just depends what vibe I'm going for. Then you can take a clean brush or one with a little bit of a powder on it. Then I just like to wipe under the wing. This kind of drags the product outwards to make it a little bit more sharp. Also removes any of the excess. That way you just get a really good shape, but it's super simple. For brows, the Rose Ink Brow Gel. This is a nice one. Has this little cute brow gel applicator, and it's somewhere in between. Like, it is quite liquidy. It's also like a, not like a, I don't know how to describe the texture. It's not like a super liquidy brow gel, but it's not like a very non-liquidy one either. I don't know what I'm saying. Hopefully you know, it's not super thin, it's more of a medium consistency. If you wanted this to be a little bit more smoky or evening, I would take this brown shade that we used as a liner and then deepen that outer V even more. I want to keep it relatively light. I'm actually going to do a little bit of brown on my waterline. It's been a really long time since I've done a darker liner. Oh, this is Bareminerals, by the way. These are great eyeliners. Topaz, the Mineralist eyeliners, they have both metallics and mattes. This one's a nice warm chocolatey brown. I don't like to bring my inner waterline eyeliner all the way to the center of my eyes. It's my preference because my eyes are closer together. If your eyes are further apart, you could totally do that. I also have round eyes, so I don't want to like accentuate, make them even rounder seeming. Like, I like having round eyes, but I just like it to go into the cat shape and not really bring a lot of focus into the inner corner. This Magnetic Euphoria blush. It's pretty funny. I'm gonna curl my lashes. For mascara, I'm gonna use my Thrive Causemetics Liquid Lash Extensions. This is the black shade. I like this one if I'm doing more dramatic look. It just stands out a little bit more. I feel so fancy, I like never use black mascara anymore. I usually do brown. Feeling extra dramatic. So, got a little messy. We'll clean it up in a little bit. For lips, I've been loving the ColourPop Cool BFF. A lot of you recommended this to me when I was searching for a, need to sharpen it, hold on. I was looking for a dupe for Lime Crime Topaz, which was my absolute favorite lip liner. Discontinued the shade. I swatched this in my, not last video, the video before that, comparing it to the Lime Crime one. It is very similar. This one's like slightly more taupe-ish, but it is definitely just become my favorite because it matches, like, it's cool toned. It's really hard to find a cool tone lip liner that doesn't pull too warm, especially if you have a skin tone similar to mine. I have very fair lips, so anything that's too warm always looks very off on me. Does anyone know if they updated this lip liner formula? Because I have a bunch of the BFF lip liners, and I feel like they didn't last as well as this one lasts. So I've been really enjoying it. And I did already mention the Exa lip oil, by the way. I just wiped that off, so it's a really nice prep. A little trick if you want your lip liner to last extra long, just take a tissue, blot off the excess, and then go in with a brush that has a little bit of powder on it. I would like close your lips like this, so powder doesn't get in your mouth, but then it just sets that lip liner. It's sort of just like setting your foundation. It just makes it last longer, especially if the formula is like a little creamier than what you like. For lipsticks, I've just been loving the vibe of these. So these are from Red Apple Lipstick. They're their shimmer formulas, very 90s. So they have two shades here. This one is Foxy, which is like this neutral pink. These lipsticks would, I feel like because they're more 90s, would fit into a couple of different makeup styles. If you don't know what the makeup styles are, by the way, it was my last video that I posted. There's 5 different ones. These would be like classic beauty, but I also feel like the mysterious beauty would like these a lot. So this one is a little bit more of a cool pink. So I've been using this one, Foxy, which is the more neutral one. Not as like a full coat of color, but sort of just on the center of my lips. I like to dab it. And what I like so much about this is because I'm not a huge gloss person, but especially in the summer, my hair is like in the wind. I hate when things like stick to my face, like my hair sticks to my face or hair sticks to lip gloss, so it kind of gives you a lip gloss effect, or more of like a moisturizing lip formula, but it gives you the longevity of a matte lipstick, so that's just perfect in my opinion. I also feel like it goes along with this like bronzy look, just beautiful. And then if I really want my makeup to last, the Thrive Causemetics Instant Makeup Fix. This is a really nice long wear setting spray. I also love the Danesse Myricks matte setting spray. That one is no joke. You can also use like the Urban Decay one. If you have drier skin, you can stick with the Rosewater I mentioned. I curled my hair this morning, but it's so hot. It kind of just like lost all the texture I put in it. Feeling very bronzed and glowy, which is different, but I feel like very fitting for summer. So this was my full phase of products I just can't put down. I'm obsessed with. These are all in like my everyday makeup drawer that I just always reach for. I love the base products. That shadow palette is so pretty. This lip combo is everything. Definitely recommend checking these out if you have similar makeup preferences to me. They're all such good products. All very much worth it. Thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.